Hello viewers, I think it's fair to say that I've been having a lot of fun on Forza Motorsport multiplayer, and this race was certainly no exception. We're going to jump immediately into this one in the practice. This was the Forza GT hopper with a couple of cars parked up in the middle of the track for no good reason at all. So looking at the practice times here, it was actually fairly close and fairly competitive. And after I missed this braking point, I felt like, okay, we're going to jump in to our qualifying, putting as little fuel into the car on the soft tyres, of course. We have 3 laps to try to set a fast time. Our first time, is a 1:22.3, and I knew that this would be quite a competitive lobby. It always was. Back on Forza Motorsport 7, in fact, I think this was one of the most popular lobbies back on that game, and that seems to have translated onto this one as well. Now, first lap there, 1:22.3, trying to improve on this one, of course, but as we get further around the lap, try to spot the mistake that I made. It might be quite hard to see, but there it was, yeah, straight onto the grass, which is the sub-optimal line, and it dirtied the lap, but we had the exclamation mark there of doom, and so this lap would not be better anyway. So crossing the line there, 22.9, and someone else there going into the 22, so I knew that the heat was on. Even though I was on pole position as it stood, I still needed to improve ideally, just to make sure I was definitely safe, as there are still 9 minutes of the race. Who knows, someone could easily improve within those 9 minutes. And in this hopper, it's really about carrying the speed through that first couple of corners onto this middle straight. And after the first sector, more than a quarter of a second up, and good timing as well, because a Spectre there coming in just about 2/10 slower than my time. So I knew that the faster guys were getting in and beginning to set some times. So the pressure was on. Get this lap right. And this right-hander here, I got it wrong on the last lap, but making sure we get the track limits right. And you really can carry a lot of speed through there when you get the line dead right. We're still 2/10 up on our fastest, coming up into the final sector then, and getting as close as we can to the wall, carrying as much speed through this right-hander. Quite an awkward final sector, this one here at Indianapolis. Had to be very patient, and these Forza GT cars are quite loose, I would say, especially given they are GT cars with quite a lot of downforce. The back end does want to come around. We are 4/10 up. We're going to cross the line. It's going to be a massive improvement, 21.9, and that put me more than safe at the head of the grid. So that was a satisfying qualifying in the Audi R8. And, well, you see all the other cars here joined me for a nice little pre-race party, as we all sat in the same space. And that's a glitch that hasn't been fixed in Forza 7. But anyway, onto the race, onto the grid. Now, I knew I was going to use mediums, but I decided, you know what, I'll leave it on hard and see if anyone falls for it. See if anyone swaps over to hards as well, even though that's not what my intention is. So this could be an absolute masterstroke in strategy. But actually, I swapped back to the mediums with 5 seconds left to go. I don't know if anyone fell for it. But it was time to race. Pole position here, 11 laps around Indianapolis in a full... Actually, it's not full. It's 22 players, not 24. It's still quite a congested lobby, should we say. Now, starting at the front, of course, we have the benefit of having plenty of space in front of us and around us. Having to go defensive here against Noble, who had a good launch from third. Also in the Audi, we do not want to have a repeat of the Mercedes boys at the Qatar Grand Prix by crashing into each other at this early stage. And this opening lap is really just about settling into the race and doing our best to make sure we don't have any mistakes. But unfortunately for me, I'm going to speak way too soon here, because through this corner, I did this a couple of times in practice, trying to judge your braking point for this one was quite tricky. And for some reason I broke on the 100 board, which is way too late. You need to brake well before it, at least. And that's me down to 4th. One little mistake, and that undoes all the hard work we did in qualifying. And now it's gonna be a race where we have to put a lot more work in. But thankfully, it is a longer race. It is one of those medium length according to the game, so 11 laps here. We're looking about 15 to 20 minutes or so, which is a good length of race, I would say, for this type of car. And so we have some opportunity here to set some consistent laps and try to get back on terms with the top two. So SVR Spectre there in the 4GT up into the lead. Then of course Noble there in the Audi R8, the same car that I am driving. And now we have the Ferrari in our tow and up for company. And he's going to go flying past. Really good top end, but not as good on the brakes, as we're going to be able to go deeper on the brakes, later on the brakes, and get back into third. So this could be an interesting battle here with the Ferrari. The boys back at Maranello here, looking to do a solid job at the US Grand Prix here. Onto the middle straight, pulled enough of a gap that the Ferrari would not be a problem on this middle straight of the circuit. As you can see there, nice big gap. So that is ideal. We need to try and get away from that Ferrari so we're not fighting with it, and we can try and turn our attentions to the top two rather than fourth place. And we've definitely gained on this lap so far, and over the course of a good 11 lap race, it's really a case of refinement, learning what you're doing wrong and seeing if you can improve it. And this was just a really good race, guys. I was really happy to bring this one to you. I have plenty of other Forza videos recorded, which I will bring out very soon. Of course, get yourself subscribed if you're enjoying these videos and you're not already subbed. But yeah, I've been really enjoying this so far. Of course, this game is not without its issues. There are plenty of issues with Forza. But when it does work, and this race worked, then, you know, there's a lot of fun to be had. There's a back marker there, ghosted out, so we don't need to really worry. The top two battling here into turn one, lap number 3. Spectre goes very deep, and is Noble going to be able to take the position? Yes, he is. Up the inside he goes. I'm going to follow him through, go for the double move, quite an aggressive overtake here, cutting off his line on the exit, and it's going to be, well, I mean, I don't know what to say about that. Just a very aggressive move, straight from third to first. I wasn't going to wait about, positioning the car right on the racing line. They couldn't quite get on the power in time. I'm going to move over to the racing line, make sure we don't outbrake ourselves here. Braking about 125 metres before the corner. We've made that mistake once in the race already. We don't really want to do it again. And this sector here, quite tricky with the direction changes. I am playing on controller. Lots of you asking, what view do I use? The one you're seeing is the one I'm using. And I am, yes indeed, on a controller. I will try this game out on a wheel, but I am enjoying it for the time being on the controller. It's very, very playable as it is. And now we're finding out the strengths and weaknesses of these cars. The Audi R8 appeared to be a very solid all-round car for this race. But the 4GT also very good, and it seemed very good in that final sector through the slower, clunkier corners there. And so this was going to be an interesting battle. Down the straight, despite having the slipstream, he was not able to pull up alongside and go for the move, unlike that Ferrari earlier in the race. And so I knew I had the better measure through the straight line sections. It would just be through the slower and more awkward corners where that full GT would be very strong indeed. And that is the good thing I would say about this modern GT, or sorry, Forza GT lobby, which is the balancing between the cars does tend to be quite good. So moving forward here, you can see this is lap number 6, and my left-hand tyres, given that this is a clockwise track, are beginning to die of death. The process is underway, and so this lap might be quite tricky. We are planning to do a one-stop race, medium to medium. There may well be a better strategy, maybe hard to soft, I don't really know, as this was the first time I was running this race, and given that the game is fairly new, I'm sure the best strategies will become very clear with time, but for now we are just going off of our intuition and hoping that it's right. But we're going to try and do 6 laps here on this opening stint, and then 5 laps on mediums as well should be fine. But the grip drop off when you really do wear out your tyres is quite sudden, quite severe, so you don't particularly want to go an extra lap. And now all of my tyres have gone into the yellow or the orange. You can see by this point in the lap I'm rather on the back foot, sliding through that right-hander onto the banking, and now Spectre is looking around the outside. It's not quite going to happen there, but the pressure became a bit more intense at the end of that lap, sliding our way into the pit lane. And this is going to be the one-stop strategy in effect. The 4GT there of Spectre following us in, and so it's going to be a direct battle between the Audi boys and the Ford boys. Now, I wasn't sure what to do here. You can see my fuel meter was quite low, and so I kind of got a bit flustered in this pit lane. And I didn't really know exactly what to put in terms of fuel. It turns out that I put enough fuel in at the start of the race to last the entire race. So I didn't actually need to refuel anything there. But I did need new tyres, and that's what I did. So that was a bit of a mistake. Maybe lost a second and a half, I think it was, or maybe 2 seconds. And clearly, Ford GT is a good couple of car lengths ahead now. And for good measure, throw in the other Audi R8, which seems to have come out of nowhere and joined this battle. Thankfully for me, I came out just in front of a couple of cars there. That could have been a very different story had I come out just behind those 3 cars right behind me. And yeah, that could have been very bad indeed if I had just added a bit more fuel. That would have slowed me down quite a lot more, because Spectre is clearly very quick in that Ford GT. I can't really afford to lose even 1 second, because that is a gap that you might not be able to regain even in a race like this. So now, interestingly, we have Fireblade also in the Audi R8 joining us for good measure in this battle. I have no idea where this guy came from, because he didn't seem to be in the top 4 throughout this entire race. Then suddenly he's now in this fight. I'm not sure what tyres he's on, probably on the mediums as well, but we are now in with a 3-way battle rather than a 2-way battle. This is going to be quite tricky. So now I have to try and overtake 2 cars, and overtaking 1 is hard enough. So a couple of cars there, that guy's sliding out completely. He may well have 0 grip on his tyres, as I mentioned. The grip drop-off is very severe when you forget to pit. So that is the end of lap number 7. On to lap 8. 4 laps remaining in this one, and it's a very good battle. The guy in the lead is 16 seconds ahead, but yet to pit. Up the inside we go. That wasn't really an intentional move. Just kind of went in a bit too late on the brakes, and he's going to put Fireblade off of his line here through this first sector. So we're going to stay behind for now, but all the meanwhile you can see Spectre in second place, just edging clear as we make that mistake. And this is the main worry I have, which is if we battle a little bit too much, we're going to lose a lot of time here, and the Ford GT is going to pull away quite easily. So we have to get this battle done quite quickly, which is not going to happen, as we're going to go sideways through the chicane. I mean, it's really good battling between the two of us. Really good respect shown, space given, apart from when I went to the side of him, of course. But through here, this is going to be quite an aggressive move. Onto the banking, lap number 8, pulling over to the right-hand side, gives us the space. Don't quite turn in as early as I could have done there. Meeting the apex on the inside, bit of door banging, but I'm through up to 3rd, which will turn into 2nd in just a moment now that the leader has gone into the pit lane. Would it be possible to this race no stop on hard tyres? Probably not, as we now move into 2nd, 1.6 seconds away, and actually Spectre has a 0.6 second penalty, so I can just, if I get very close to him, finish behind. But I'm going to make a mistake. First crucial mistake there. Only gives me a 0.1 second penalty for cutting the first corner, so that's not too bad. I still have a 0.5 second advantage in terms of penalties, and so if I finish right on his nose, or right on his tail with my nose, that sounds weird, but you get the picture. If I'm right behind him on the track, then I will win based on the penalty difference. But all I need to do is just reel in this gap. I have 2.5 laps left to do it. Through this middle sector, quite tricky one. That Ford GT looks nicely poised through here. The Audi sliding about a little bit, just in the name of pushing too much. I swear that was 1 pixel over the line, and boom, 0.8 second penalty. And so the dynamic in terms of penalties has completely swapped, as I now have 0.3 seconds worth of penalty more than Spectre does. So I definitely need to get in front now. That wasn't the best last sector from me. Spectre in the Ford GT looking good through that part of the track. And so we have 2 laps left to go. I'm in quite a tricky spot here. I do need to catch up and overtake, and I have this Audi R8 very close behind for company. And if I just make any mistakes, I'm going to get drawn into a battle once again. And here, taking a nice apex, and He's actually going to invite him for a move at the second corner. It's not quite going to happen. We're going to have to regather that slide onto the grass, and thankfully gathering it up, and we continue. The gap is 1.2 to the leader, and so I'm running out of time here to try to narrow this down, but it is a almighty battle. Actually, Fireblade there, I think, recovering from a mistake after that contact through the first chicane, so I have a bit more breathing room with respect to the car behind. I don't really have to worry so much now. I can just focus fully on trying to catch up and getting these lines dead right in this car, which is not easy to do. And the Spectre there taking some nice lines through the middle sector. Gap down to 0.9, which is the lowest it's been in this second half of the race. 0.8 as we head into the braking zone here, into the final sector. Really trying to maximise the track limits as much as possible. Awkward left-hander here, really not one of the best corners for me on the track. But I think I'm changing my line, getting it slightly a bit better. You can go flat out through this final corner, but you are right on the edge if you do that. And as we cross the line, the gap is 0.6. Again, the smallest it's been, 0.5, 0.4. We're definitely quicker in the straight line, especially now with the slipstream. Final lap, 11 out of 11. This is it, guys. The last a minute and a half of this race. Can we catch him and overtake him with barely 10 corners remaining in the race? We have a back marker to contend with. They are not going to cause any accidents, as they are going to be ghosted out, but they will be a visual annoyance, you could say, as they are still going to be seen. And as we head into this corner, they are going to be right in our line of sight, so I just have to kind of phase them out of my mind somehow. As we head through this left-hander, I don't quite take the best line. I don't really spook Spectre away from the apex, as he holds his nerve and keeps the line quite nicely, driving very consistently. And this is a real test for me so far. Looking into this one, we're definitely going to gain. We're going to go for a very big dive bomb. Touching the apex, no contact. Actually, there was a collision, a very minor collision, through the second to last corner. Am I going to be able to overhaul him with one corner left to go? He's going to have to make a mistake, and he does. A bit of a slide as we come through onto the banking, onto the straight for the last time, up to the line. It's going to be extremely close. I do get past him just before the finish. Is it going to be enough? What a race that was. It's not quite going to be enough. I am going to finish in second after all that. It was only a quarter of a second between us. I couldn't quite do enough. We exchanged a very nice couple of messages there. And wow, what a race. I mean, I love that. Every moment of that was really good, apart from, of course, a couple of very silly mistakes from me. But the main thing is that I had an enjoyable, fun race. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you next time. Goodbye.